This week on Vaticano, go with us behind the doors of the Apostolic Palace as Lent begins at the Vatican. Meet Bishop Erik Varden, who is leading the Pope's spiritual exercises this year, and hear the true meaning of Lent from Father Wojciech Giertek, the Pope's theologian. Join us on the streets of Rome with Scouts in service, and don't miss our remarkable story of one of history's earliest foundling wheels. For this and more, Vaticano starts now. The purple vestments, the stripped altars, and the scent of incense in the air. As the Church enters the austere season of Lent, the rhythm of life within the Vatican subtly changes. The pace slows, and a journey inward begins again.
The work load then is reduced because this is a special time for prayer. And I presume the Pope has less audiences, less meetings with people, because this is a time specially given to God, which is a sign for everybody that we need in a very concrete way assign time for God.
At the heart of this sacred season stands the Lenten spiritual exercises of the Pope, days set apart not for governance or diplomacy, but for listening and praying.
So parishes often arrange a retreat during Lent, and they invite the faithful to attend conferences which somehow put them on the right track. And so the same thing happens here in the Vatican, that the Holy Father invites a preacher to preach to the members of the Roman Curia who are invited to listen to these conferences.
This year, the first Lent for Pope Leo XIV as Pope, the spiritual retreat will take place again in the Apostolic Palace. Previously, Pope Francis, unlike the pontiffs who had preceded him, chose a place outside the Vatican for the Lenten exercises. His preference fell on the Casa Divin Maestro in Aricia, in the area of the Castelli Romani, a retreat house overlooking the papal summer residence at Castel Gandolfo. The choice of location was well aligned with the Jesuit tradition of making the spiritual exercises away from the place where one lives and works. Contrary to what many had assumed, the retreat will not be preached by the official preacher of the Papal Household, Father Roberto Pasolini.
The Holy Father may invite various people, depending on. And now this Lenten retreat will be preached by Bishop Erik Varden from Norway.
Illuminated by hidden glory, the Lenten itinerary is the theme chosen by the preacher for the spiritual exercises in the Vatican that will take place for a week from February the 22nd to the 27th. 51-year-old Bishop Erik Varden, Bishop of Trondheim, Norway since 2020, is a Cistercian monk of strict observance, also called a Trappist, known for his spiritual writing. Baptized Lutheran by non-practicing parents, he studied philosophy and theology at Cambridge before converting to Catholicism. After earning various theology degrees in Rome, he joined the Trappists in 2002 and became abbot of Mount St. Bernard in 2015. His deep devotion to St. Bernard now shapes the spiritual exercises he will offer the Pope. Bishop Varden, known for his focus on interior life, draws upon the sayings of the Desert Fathers to help believers navigate a desert of distractions through silence, prayer, and humility.
I'd read about the Desert Fathers, and I'd read a short collection of sayings before I joined the monastery. But it was when I was in the novitiate that I realized just how important this body of literature is. These sayings, almost always dialogues, a young monk coming to an older monk, having a problem, having a query, a quandary, and asking, Father, how can I live with this? What can I do about this? And I found the answers to be so penetrating and so true and so timeless and often disconcertingly addressing precisely what was going on in my own heart, that I found them tremendously helpful. I still find them helpful, and I think they'll be helpful to others. Welcome to the Desert Fathers in a year.
Bishop Varden is currently spearheading a very special initiative entitled Desert Fathers in a Year, in collaboration with EWTN and Exodus 90, to apply early Christian monastic wisdom to modern life that he views as a desert requiring the same spiritual discipline. Meditations prepared by Bishop Varden for the Holy Father and the members of the Curia will incorporate monastic traditions, featuring twice daily reflections, Eucharistic adoration, and the Liturgy of the Hours. The first conference is scheduled for Sunday, February the 22nd at 5 p.m. Thereafter, each morning will begin at 9 a.m. with the Liturgy of the Hours, and another meditation following at 5 p.m. The final session will be on Friday, February the 27th, concluding with afternoon Eucharistic adoration. In a few moments, learn the true meaning of Lent with the theologian of the Pope. A scout neckerchief for Pope Leo XIV. It happened during the pastoral visit to the parish of Ostia, when 3 young scouts wanted to honor the pontiff with the most cherished symbol of their uniform.
For where 2 or 3 are gathered in His name, Jesus is present. Jesus is alive with us.
Behind that simple yet meaningful gesture lies a world, that of scouting, made of values, adventure, and growth. In the heart of Rome lies the scout group of the Opera Regina Apostolorum, one of the oldest Catholic scout groups in Italy, which continues to live on, carrying forward values and traditions that have their roots more than 80 years ago.
The Scout Group was born right at the same time as the liberation of Rome in June 1944. Our community had been active since 1933. But clearly somewhat in hiding because it was under the period of the fascist regime.
Troppo margine per delle attività e anche per l'attività scout soprattutto. Nel 44 ci sono le prime promesse.
In 1944, there were the first promises, and at the end of the year, the first census was taken within ASCI, with 31 initial members.
I soci iniziali.
Now we are more than 100, 115 to be exact, and we carry out our activities here in this headquarters, which is our historic one, on Via dei Baulari and Via delle Mantellate.
From the rebirth of scout groups in Italy, within a few decades, the Scouts of Europe felt the need to unite, forging a common identity after years of conflict. It was at the historical headquarters of the Rome 32 group that the Italian Catholic Guides and Scouts of Europe Association celebrated their very first Mass.
We often hold international gatherings for the young people. Indeed, especially for them, precisely to foster a spirit of brotherhood. In 1956, when the Scouts of Europe were founded, the founders decided that this would be the fundamental goal after the end of the Second World War, to create something that would encourage young people to be together, to live together, to be united rather than to shoot at one another.
Once a scout, always a scout. Massimiliano joined the Rome 32 group in 1969 and continues to support the group in which he was raised, although in a more distant role.
Il movimento scout è un movimento di giovani.
The Scout movement is a movement for young people. So from an operational point of view, it's important that the boys and girls are led by young leaders. Those of us who are, shall we say, a bit gray-haired now lend a hand when needed, for example, when there's a special activity to organize. So our role is mainly behind the scenes, stepping in when we're asked, of course.
Che noi facciamo quando ci viene richiesto, ovviamente.
Among the narrow streets of Trastevere, the activities of the Rome 32 Scout Group continue to flourish, vibrant and full of life. The headquarters is a place where young people fully experience their age through play, group activities, and service to others, a cornerstone of Scout education. Within this community, the boys and girls take care of one another, while the leaders act as guides and trusted confidants through the doubts of adolescence. It's an experience of responsibility and growth, a safe environment in which to mature through the three fundamental duties of Scouting: duty to God, duty to others, and duty to oneself.
The responsibility is certainly great, not only from the perspective of the children's personal growth, but also from a much more practical point of view, such as managing transportation and ensuring their physical well-being. That said, we handle this responsibility quite well, also because we are supported by older individuals who stand behind us and, so to speak, help safeguard our situation.
Serving others goes hand in hand with exploring faith. Through catechism and quiet reflection, Scouts forge a meaningful connection with God.
We organize reflections, we organize vigils. In short, it's a way of living our faith together, in a spirit of sharing. But also on a personal level, moments that help each girl take her own time, be alone for a while, and try to understand where the Lord wants to lead them in what He says.
Quando vengo qui, vedere le facce delle guide, le risate.
Seeing the faces of the guides, the laughter, even the tears, the moments of sharing, for me, that is a great treasure. I see in it not only something earthly, but also something deeply divine. I mean, seeing the girls with these expressions, looking at you as if what you're saying is something special, something truly extraordinary, something new. In short, it inspires me a lot. In a way, I see the face of God there.
Insomma, mi ispira molto, ci vedo un po' il volto di Dio.
In a world that is moving ever faster and increasingly focused on individualism, Scouts continue to offer meaningful and relevant experiences, helping young people discover something that is often missing in today's world.
Sperimenti dei rapporti umani che fuori.
You experience human relationships that I would struggle to see outside, but I realize their value when I'm with the girls themselves. That is, the connections they have here carry more meaning than those they might have elsewhere. In a time when everything moves fast and relationships often stay on the surface, being able to go deeper in this context is, in my opinion, the real value and the reason for being a Scout.
Il valore è il motivo per cui fare Scout.
The sacred season of Lent is experienced in a particularly profound way within the walls of the Vatican, where the Holy Father participates in the spiritual exercises alongside cardinals, bishops, and other members of the Roman Curia, including the theologian of the Papal Household. He's considered part of the so-called Papal family and is closely involved in the Pope's spiritual and intellectual life. Wojciech Giertek, a 74-year-old Dominican father, has held this unique role since 2005, offering his dedication and counsel to the last three popes. He's one of the very few individuals who live permanently within the Apostolic Palace, and now he awaits Pope Leo's move here, ready to welcome him as a very special neighbor.
You have been now the theologian of the Papal Household for so many years. What is actually the main task, the main role of this figure?
Well, that's a good question. I would like to have an answer. I was never given an answer, strictly speaking, but basically the procedure in the Holy See is such that the discourses which are prepared for the Pope basically not by the Pope, but for the Pope. It's obvious that the Pope has many meetings, and so many discourses are prepared for him, and they're prepared by various people depending on the subject matter. And so before the Holy Father receives the text, the function of the theologian of the Holy Father is to look at them and see if they're not confusing, if they're not ambiguous, if something has to be corrected. And this is the prime reason why I live here in the Vatican, because these texts are sometimes prepared in the last moment.
What is actually Lent for a believer? What does it mean?
It's a time of maybe a deepened prayer, and the liturgy reminds us of the time when Jesus was in the desert, and for 40 days with fasting, and the encounter of Jesus with the evil one, and the three temptations to use the power of Jesus and change stones into bread, to use the power of the angels and do something stupid, to jump off the pinnacle of the temple and trust in an absurd way, and then to bow in front and adore the evil one as to possess the entire world. Well, of course, Jesus rejects all these temptations, and in his incarnation, he wanted to experience the fullness of being human, including the difficulty of being in the desert, of being in a situation where the meaning of life seems to be difficult, seems to slip through the fingers, and yet nevertheless, he continued in his prayer. And so the time of Lent is an invitation for a deepened prayer, a deepened focus on God and the putting away of distractions, and assuring that God is central in our life.
Is Lent rather a time, a period of human effort or God's grace? And what does actually the divine grace mean?
I think we shouldn't treat, we have to distinguish between nature and grace, between our natural thinking and working on the basis of faith, which opens us to grace. But grace doesn't appear as a rival to our will and to our mind. If we are living out a life of faith and charity, well, then grace is working within us. And then the good things that we do, for example, the time given by a dad to talk to a teenager every day, 10 minutes, that gift of the dad is 100% human. It's his gift. But if it's lived out in faith, or maybe particularly thinking that it's time for Lent and make a special effort in view of God, this time given to the child is 100% human and 100% divine at the same time, because grace is working within us in such a way that we don't lose the dignity and liberty of our will, but we become even more free, even more generous, even more true.
Certainly one of the key elements of the period of Lent is confession. Why do people go to confession? What does it mean?
There is the human aspect and the divine aspect, and the divine aspect is working through the human, through the gestures, through the words, through the sacramental signs. Now, of course, it is possible to meet God outside the sacramental order, through the exercise of the theological virtues, through faith, hope, and charity expressed in prayer. And of course, it's important that we engage with God truly through these virtues. And this takes place, may take place in a situation where there is no contact with the visible structure of the church. In Siberia, under communism, many people engaged with God, prayed, had a real spiritual life, but had no access to the sacraments. But nevertheless, the sacraments they strengthen the supernatural order in us, and they give the certitude that the grace of God has been given.
Thank you so much for the time you shared with us.
Thank you.
We'll be back after a short break with the evolution of the foundling wheels in Rome.
Rome's Tiber River, although today a nice view or daily walk, once was a death sentence for unwanted babies. At the end of the 12th century, the head of the Vatican, Pope Innocent III, heard that babies were being thrown into the Tiber River when disowned by their mothers. During this time, abandonment of newborns was very common, especially among poor families and prostitutes facing unwanted pregnancies. Pope Innocent III found this to be unacceptable and instructed for a foundling wheel to be built in 1198 next to the Tiber River at the oldest hospital in Europe, Santo Spirito in Ostia. This is the foundling wheel that saved thousands of babies. It was the very first one ever built. If you've ever been to Rome, chances are you walked right past it without even noticing. It sits on the Borgo Santo Spirito right around the corner from Vatican City. Foundling wheels became widespread in Italy more than any other European country. This one here continued operating until 1870 due to changing social policy. But this wheel started a network of infant nurseries around the continent. Hospitals and churches around Europe not only took abandoned children in, but also helped them get to foster families around the country. Today, hospitals like Policlinico Castellino and other hospitals around the world use modernized versions of baby hatches inspired by this one, continuing to show mothers that there is always an alternative option.
The baby box, as our foundling wheel is called, was built in 2006, about 20 years ago. It was created to help mothers in difficulty, unable to take their child with them, and so to save newborn life. Since the baby box was created, only one infant has been entrusted to our foundling wheel. And this occurred in 2007, and the baby was 3 months old. And when a mother decides to leave their child, she can place her baby in a cot located in our baby box room, which is kept at a constant temperature throughout the year. An alarm activated by a contact sensor alerts the staff of the emergency room. And a camera focuses only on the cot where the baby is lying, and without capturing the face of the person who placed the baby on the cot.
The foundling wheels guarantee complete privacy. No hidden cameras are present, and nothing records the entrance. Once the alarm goes off, it takes only a few seconds for a neonatal doctor and a nurse to arrive and collect the baby. The child is immediately taken inside for medical checks and routine care. From that point on, the case is handled through standard hospital and child protection procedures.
Thanks to a transport incubator already present in the baby box, the infant is carried to the neonatal pathology ward or to the neonatal intensive care unit, depending on the clinical conditions. However, the baby box is equipped to provide emergency care if necessary. During the hospital stay, the infant receives tests to evaluate health status, several tests, and subsequently social services are activated to report the event to the juvenile court so that the baby can be entrusted to a protected facility or to an adoptive family.
Although modern baby hatches differ somewhat to the ones in the Middle Ages in terms of well-equipped hospital departments and new technology, the desire to offer a child a better future and a better life remains at the heart of why these foundling wheels exist.
Without any doubt, this is a sign of hope because abandoning newborn infants often means depriving them of their chance to survive. Tragic events may occur when infants are abandoned, for example, in the garbage bins shortly after birth. With a foundling will, a mother can give her baby the possibility to live, okay, and to be entrusted to a family. In fact, our baby box slogan is "Don't abandon your baby, but entrust him or her to us."